jumping right into it, we've got about 4.5 to 5.5 cups of huckleberries here. These are going to be getting turned into a lemon huckleberry syrup. We've got our cans in here already sterilized. We've got our lids sterilized, ready to go. So we're going to cook this down. We've got the zest of 2 lemons. We're also going to be adding this lemon juice with this. Actually, I take that back. The lemon juice is going to be separated separately with a teaspoon of cornstarch. This will get added into here. This has around 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water added as well. It will get the juice of the lemons and the cornstarch added at the end, and then it's all going to get filtered and strained. And I'm hoping this is going to make about 6 half-pint jars. So I'm going to cook these down. They were frozen berries, and we're going to add probably around 4.5 to 5 cups of sugar to this also. No pectin is being used in this either because it's just going to be a syrup. So when doing this, it's not recommended to use a metal utensil in an enameled cast iron pot like this Lodge ceramic enameled Dutch oven, but if you're very careful and you don't actually rub the bottom, you should be alright. Just straight up and down, gentle, and try not to scrape the bottom or sides if possible. When you do need to stir it and mix everything around, just go back to your trusty wooden spoon. So we are now going to add all of the lemon zest. Zest of 2 lemons. Good enough. We are now going to squeeze the lemons out into the same bowl that had the zest. If you roll these lemons around on the counter first, you can get a lot more juice out of them just by hand squeezing, so I don't have an actual squeezer. I will tell you that I completely forgot to do that. So it's going to be a little harder to get all of that juice out, but we're going to do what we can. Alright, so I got about 4 tablespoons of lemon juice out of those lemons. I'd like to go a little bit heavier on the lemon, so I'm going to add a touch of this organic pure lemon juice I picked up at the store. Let's add a few more tablespoons of that. And while we are doing the rest of this stuff, we just have this on a nice slow simmer. Slow cooking down. So we got our lemon juice ready to go. That's going to get a teaspoon of cornstarch mixed in with it. And then we got our sugar here ready to go. I'm using 3.5 cups of organic cane sugar and about a cup of sugar in the raw, which is what I had on hand here. So we're going to use that as it needs to be used. And we're going to just keep going with this guy. Smells really good. So we're going to just keep mashing and stirring for a little bit. We're going to add this cornstarch here. Give that a nice mix, and we have the berries on a very low and slow simmer, just letting that lemon zest mix up and mingle with everything else that's happening in there really nicely. Alright, I'm pretty happy with how this is looking, so we're going to go ahead and add the sugar. We're going to add that now. Oh yeah. Big old lovely amount of sugar there. We're just going to start mixing that up. So after mixing the sugar, you're going to, or after pouring the sugar, you're going to mix it really, really well. Just make sure all that sugar dissolves. And then we're going to continue to cook it on a low heat, a low boil I should say, for at least 10 minutes or so. Alright, so we're going to ramp this back up. We've got all of our sterilized jars lined up over here. And I'll be danged if I just realized I was filming this in the wrong portrait the whole time. Should have been in landscape, but it is what it is. So we're just going to bring this back up to a boil. And at the very end, I'm going to add the lemon and cornstarch mix. and then we're going to work on getting it filtered into the jars. You could reduce this down and really cook it down quite a bit more. Eliminate adding any water in the beginning and slow cook it down and actually make a jam without using any pectin as well. And it would just be less volume, but it would thicken up and it would make a jam with just the natural pectins in the fruit. Once it's canned in the jars, it's going to get the 10-minute to 12-minute processing time in the water bath. They also say that if you're planning on doing a water bath over the minute cycle for your elevation, which for me is going to be 10 minutes, if you go over that 10-minute period, they say you don't really need to worry too much about pre-sterilizing your jars. Just make sure they're washed and clean and don't have any residue, but the water bath will sterilize the jars as long as it goes over that 10-minute cycle. That was on the actual USDA's canning site. So if you're not familiar with water bath canning or any of that, I would recommend looking that up on Google and getting familiar with some of the processes. We got the stuff, which is now off of heat. Heat's off. It's just cooling off here. And we are going to ladle this into the jars. And we are also going to spatula all the good stuff off the edges here. Get that mixed back in. Alright, moment of truth here. Oh yeah, this might be a slow process with some trial and error. Alright, we had to scratch the cheesecloth. It was too much filtration, but now we're getting somewhere. The technique was to fill this basket. You can see the glob that's left there. It's the berry mass. And then that got us a jar of syrup. So on to the next. So as I'm filling up each jar, I am pulling a metal canning lid out of here using a magnet. I guess I should actually show that. I'm trying to get just the lid. There we go. So we're just getting that lid out of that boiled water and we're setting that guy on there. Another thing I want to mention as you're going through and putting your lids on, dab some of that clean water on your paper towel and just lightly go around the rim here, and you can get off any of that extra material that's on the lip, just so that you know you'll get a good seal when it goes in the water bath. I got the water bath coming up to a boil. It sounds like it's just about there. We ended up with 5 full jars of syrup. 6 was just a half jar. So that's going to go in the fridge for immediate use anyway. And these guys are going to get processed. That was probably about 5.5 cups of berries and about 4.5 cups of sugar. 2 lemons, juice of 2 lemons, plus about 4 tablespoons. Plus the zest added. And this does have a nice lemony smell coming off of it even as I was cooking it here, so I'm confident it's going to really have that nice lemon flavor I was looking for. And the strainer option, you know, just using that with a round ladle, a soup ladle like this guy, it really did the trick just mashing it through. The cheesecloth was just too much filtration. I don't think it was needed. All said and done, we got 5 jars of syrup. My daughter and I tasted a little bit of the syrup out of the jar we put in the fridge. It was like the half jar. The lemon flavor was absolutely on point. Absolutely a great huckleberry lemon sauce. I don't know if I'd consider it a syrup per se, although it could be used as one. It's a little bit thicker than I thought it would be. I'm absolutely happy with the way this turned out, and I can only say that it will taste amazing on so many different things, probably from salmon to ice cream to cheesecake to just some crackers and bread. Hopefully you guys give this one a try. Thanks.